I'm breaking one of my longest standing rules with this video. I do not review USB microphones anymore. But then again, Elgato did ask nicely, so I'm going to oblige. And yes, they did send me this for review. And as every other company that has come before has found out, this does not influence my review in any way. So let's do this. This is the Wave 3 Mark II from Elgato. Now let's start out with the build quality. And if you saw my unboxing, you're going to know this thing, it does have some plastic, and I'm not really a big fan of the feel. Now, I believe I referred to it as Zoom-style plastic, and yeah, it's pretty legit. I will have to say, though, considering what this microphone is and all the things it can do, all at the price of $169, I might add, okay, I get it. I really do. Otherwise, though, it's exactly as you would expect. The grill, it's good. It's not spongy at all. And if you're used to the original Wave 3, not much here has changed. The capacitive mute button is up top, and this multi-use knob is still there. But of course, you can see that new sparkle option. And while the physical body hasn't changed much, if at all, there are definitely some big changes under the hood. And here's the biggest upgrade that all of the Elgato Mark II stuff is getting, and that is Onboard DSP. And honestly, this is the kind of stuff that gets USB microphones on my review desk, especially when done well. But what is it, you might ask? Well, it's short for digital signal processing. It's not really a big deal, but when you put onboard in front of that, well, now you're talking about something that's going to be impactful. Now, what this does is it takes the workload of applying specific effects to your signal off of your PC, meaning any latency that you run into while doing it on the PC is no longer an issue because it's all happening automatically before the signal is sent to the computer. And the difference is night and day, especially if you have one of them older computers that needs all the help it can get. And honestly, even some of the newer PCs that are running the latest AAA title games, perhaps you want all that CPU power for that rather than a touch of EQ and compression. And when you see the host of hardware effects that you can use on this microphone, well, it's actually rather impressive what they could fit in here. Now, there are still some software effects that you can apply, and yes, those do add latency to varying degrees. But with the new direct monitoring button, you can just listen to the signal without the effects and save that listening experience for your viewers. Now, I'm not going to take a long time going through this stuff, as I already did that on my Wave XLR Mark II video that I did about a couple months ago. But I would like to highlight a few things. First, this is one of the best EQ implementations in Onboard DSP, by a long shot. Even if you have no idea what you're doing, there's some stock settings you can just get in the store so you can set it and forget it. But honestly, if you're new to doing stuff like EQ, just play with it, and you should be able to figure it out pretty quickly. And even though I'm not a huge fan of the compression on this, especially the interface for controlling it, there is that new thing called Voice Tune that handles it beautifully. Now, on paper, it says that it adds analog-style compression and harmonic warmth. And honestly, that's more the type of compression you should be using instead of trying to get an audio sausage with straight-up compression. So what I've been running this whole time, I've had ClipGuard on, because why not? I've also had Voice Tune on, as well as the equalizer. I have kept off the expander, the low cut, and the compressor. So this is the microphone completely raw. We're going to go into some of these settings in a few seconds, but I just wanted to give you an idea of completely raw versus how it is with the settings I had used. Now, ClipGuard, you can turn that on. That just offers you a little bit of protection. Why not? I don't like using the expander, and I know there are people that live and die by it, but I hate expanders and gates. Not that I hate the implementations themselves, but I do hate that sonic weirdness that happens when they shut. The low cut is kind of useless for me. Let's turn on Voice Tune. I've got it at about 30%, and I'm going to turn on equalizer. There you go. That is this with everything on, and this is with everything off. And I will say, while using the Voice Tune here, it's very, very simple. It's just a single slider, this for a little, this for a lot. And it's kind of a harmonics thing, kind of a little bit of compression mixed in there. and it can get pretty heavy-handed. This is with it on its weakest, and then we're going to go up to its strongest. I wouldn't go too heavy-handed with it. I would bring it down a little bit, but it works great hand in hand with the EQ, depending on what you're doing with your EQ. From there, basically all I've been doing is running with the clip guard. This has been my audio the whole time. You can add extra stuff to this, like the expander if you've got a loud environment, or the compressor if you really want a sausage. But this is going to give you a nice natural sound depending on how you EQ it. There is voice focus, which is what I was referring to earlier when I was talking about massive latency. But it is a really cool feature that can take your incredibly loud environment and make it sound perfectly silent. Now, honestly, I'm on the side of just controlling your environment a bit more, but maybe that's just me. It does make for better audio in the end, though. As the old saying goes, good in, good out. Again, though, you do you. And finally, just the software as a whole. Now, I did go over this stuff in the Wave XLR Mark II video, but honestly, it is a dead-ass simple way to route audio. That basically makes this just an easy win for Elgato. This is where the software becomes the big selling feature, as it lets you turn this $169 purchase into a fully functioning gaming setup. That is cool. Okay, so I've heard a few people talking about how this device is 32-bit float, and no, it's really not. Now, and I know they're talking about the ClipGuard 2.0. And while it might seem like I'm splitting hairs here, stay with me. The ClipGuard is using the same kind of software magic that 32-bit float does use. That is true. It uses a dual stage input. Now, what that means is when the signal is supposed to clip and be too loud, the software on this microphone sends that clipping audio down a secondary pathway with much lower gain, and it marries that audio together before it sends it out. How does this differ from 32-bit float, you might ask, though? Well, 32-bit float is a container for audio that it's put into when it's recorded, meaning that it can be manipulated in post. But if you were to just use this as a mic to record into a DAW, you are not able to record in 32-bit float. I just don't want any hurt feelings here. And I mean, it does sound good. You can really dial in the kind of sound you want with it. And I think that's the big test here. I do like how this thing doesn't need to be up in your grill to get the best out of it. In fact, you're actually kind of better off keeping it a bit of a distance for the best tonality. I'm at about 6 inches. However, I will caution you, the more you move it away from your mouth, the more room you invite in. But all in all, this is where it is less about the microphone and more about the Elgato ecosystem. Because Elgato is building up a very strong and easy to use ecosystem that gives gamers everything they need to get great sound without the learning curve. And that onboard DSP is the real seller here. That turned this ecosystem from a very less than perfect setup to one that anyone can use and sound decent on. So if you're a gamer with a tight budget and you need your voice to be heard while exploring all the other things you can do with Wavelink, this is a decent buy-in. I mean, I would love to see more of a commitment to USB XLR platforms for this gear, as it does give it a bit more of a shelf life. And I would also like to see onboard DSP that allows VST support. That one is a big ask, though. What do you think, though? Are USB microphones a worthy option? Let me know down below. Cheers, guys, and thanks for watching. So let's test the capacitive mute button. I love this thing. It's just tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. So great.